Hello, everybody. We are back again to continue with the book Money and the Law of Attraction. We're starting where we left off last week, which was at page 45. So let's go back there. And just a reminder, I am not reading the book here. What I am doing is offering my interpretation of the book. Hopefully, you will find this useful. So, page 45. My universe responds to my attention to. That is the heading. My universe. That's important to note. My universe. Not everybody else's universe. Only my universe. Because I cannot create for another person, but I can manage what I'm creating in my little bubble. So it's all about what I'm creating for myself, and the way I create is based on what I give attention to. Attention, meaning whatever thoughts you're thinking about it, you are giving attention. The process of noticing something is the process of giving it your attention. It is the process of thinking about it. As I'm talking to people who are into law of attraction, and we have discussions about what is a thought and what is a negative thought and what is a positive thought, what I found is most people feel that if they're focused on something that's not really important, like flipping a light switch on and off, that does not involve thinking. But that's not true. Anything that you focus on, anything that you give your attention to, means that you are thinking about it. And that's an important distinction, because sometimes we talk about that person or that situation that has nothing to do with my life, but if I'm focusing on it, I am thinking about it. And if I am thinking about it, then I am activating the vibration of it. I am not activating that event, I am activating a vibration that is similar to that vibration. And that is a very important distinction for us to understand, because we're not creating the exact event. So let's say that you meet someone and they are afflicted with some sort of illness. By thinking about it or giving your attention to your friend does not mean that you're activating that illness in your life. But what you are doing is that you're activating that vibration in your life. And when you activate the vibration, that is what translates into things that are also on that vibration, which can now come into your life. Does that kind of make sense? Maybe? Yes? So let's take a more graphic example. Let's say that topical these days is the spread of the coronavirus. So let's say that you are listening to the news, you're watching something on TV that's talking about the coronavirus. Now, what does that do? Well, it brings your happy world down to a fearful vibration. So here's, if this was the emotional scale, here's joy and here's despair. But somewhere over here is fear. It's a negative vibration. It's below the midpoint, which is the worry line. So it's somewhere over here. Fear is not a positive thing. So when you watch this news, it brings you right down here to a vibration of fear, and you start thinking thoughts like, oh my God, so many people are getting affected, and who knows when it's going to come into my community or whatever, things like that. Now, I want to make sure that you understand this, because your focusing on it is not going to bring coronavirus to you unless you have belief systems as well that support that particular event happening in your life. But if it's just a vibration of fear, then other things that reflect that vibration to you will enter your life. For example, you might be late at work, and if that creates fear because your supervisor is harsh, then you have now had a manifestation that confirms to you where you are on the emotional scale. That's how this emotional guidance system works. That event of being late and your supervisor driving fear into you is an indication that you need to change what you're paying your attention to, because one fearful event will then, if you don't shift your thoughts, will bring other fearful events to you. And if you keep giving attention to things that create fear, like the example of the virus, and if your belief system is that this is a dangerous thing and it can happen to anyone, and you continuously give attention to it, then of course you are opening your door to it. But opening your door to something does not happen that quickly. It does take time, which is fantastic. We don't want instantaneous manifestations, good or bad. Good, yes. We want those ones. We want someone to throw a bag of money at us. We want to win the lottery instantaneously. But because everything works the same way, we don't want bad things to work in that way. And so we have to take both the good and the bad with a buffer of time. Because what the buffer of time enables us to do is that it gives us the opportunity to work on our vibration and turn it around if we don't like what is coming to us. Hi, Tracy. Nice to see you here. Right? So if I was to pay attention to what's happening, and if I was to say to myself, oh, I must have dropped down to a vibration of fear, and that is why I was late at work, and I called, or I brought upon myself whatever my supervisor threw at me as a result. That's a negative vibration. That's a negative manifestation. It is telling me that I am giving far too much attention to things that are causing fear to me. Wait a second. What was I giving my attention to today? Oh, yes, I was listening to the news. I heard all about how many people had accidents and how many died and how many people were murdered in the city. And then I listened to news about the coronavirus, and all of that did not feel good. Okay, so the universe is telling me, stop it. The universe is saying, stop doing that. So that means I am going to turn the news off because it takes me down the emotional scale. And I'm going to put my attention on something that is more positive. What can I think about in this moment that is more positive? Well, let me see. I like the clothes I'm wearing. I like that I went and had coffee with one of my friends and we caught up with each other. I like that it's going to be spring soon. I love that. I love going out for a walk with my puppy. Those things feel good. And that's all I need to do. That is the work. And it's the same thing that applies to abundance as well. If we do the work to shift our point of attraction, better things start coming to us. So, Abraham says these words and I love them, so I'm going to read them out to you. When you tell someone, yes, come to me, you expect them to come. When you say, no, go away from me, you expect them to go. But you live in an attraction-based universe, an inclusion-based universe, which simply means that there is no such thing as a no. Yes, come to me means it will come, and no, go away from me means that it will also come, because there is no no. By giving attention to something, you call it to you. So if you didn't want someone to be rude to you and you said, "Stop being rude to me," you're actually instigating more rudeness. When you say, "These things are too expensive for me," you are instigating situations where you will not have money for all the things that you want. It's as simple as that. It's about noticing when we say those kinds of things and then doing something about it. Don't leave your vibration there. Do something to shift it. And shifting it does not have to involve 10 push ups, it does not even have to involve one push up. Shifting your attention simply has to do with putting your attention on something else, and it can be something really simple. Doesn't matter as long as you're not giving your attention to those things that are upsetting to you, those things that instigate fear or any other negative emotion inside you. Don't give attention to them. Don't give attention to the shortage of money. Don't say things like, "Oh, I should get paid more for the work I do," because that is a lackful vibration. That is not an abundant vibration, because in those moments you are pushing back. You're not being satisfied with where you are. And we have to be satisfied with where we are if we are going to get to where we want to go. That's how the universe works. Abraham says your attention to it and therefore your vibrational alignment with it is what is causing the response, not your words. That is why it's the vibration that is the most important thing. In the world of law of attraction, everything is connected through vibration. Two completely unrelated subjects are related because they are on the same vibration. All right. So Abraham then gives examples. Sickness, I do not want you. You are attracting sickness. As you say, "No, no, no," it is coming closer, closer, closer. People often believe that once they find their perfect mate or achieve their perfect body weight or accumulate enough money, then once and for all they will also find happiness that they seek. But nowhere is there a little corner of something where only positive aspects exist. Both positive and negative exist side by side in the universe. And like Abraham uses the analogy of going to a buffet, that is so true, because the world is full of things that we like, and the world is full of things that we absolutely don't like, don't want, and did not ask for. But it is a buffet. Nobody is asking us to put those things on our plate. We can leave those out. And attention means looking at them. If you are disgusted, let's say you're disgusted by this one particular type of food, it makes you nauseous. Soon as you look at it, it makes you nauseous. Well, then don't look at it, because you don't want that feeling of nausea. And that's what Abraham means, that it is a buffet. Take what you want and ignore the rest. It's as if the rest does not exist. Abraham also uses another analogy that I absolutely love, and that is the analogy of a well-stocked kitchen. Abraham says, you have so many things in your kitchen that you don't use for everything that you cook. You only use those ingredients that you need for a specific recipe. And that's what they mean when they say don't add to the recipe things that are not required. Only focus on those things that are required for that recipe. Make sense? All right, let's move along. So Abraham says, we would encourage you to begin each day with the statement, today. No matter where I go, no matter what I am doing, and no matter who I'm doing it with, it is my dominant intent to look for things that feel good. I think that's how they say it later on somewhere in the book. I have it memorized. And I'll tell you the secret, this pre-paving, morning pre-paving, I call it morning pre-paving. This morning pre-paving is something that I started using when this book was first published. God knows when that was. It's been a long time. Oh, 2008. So I have been using this affirmation, prayer, whatever you want to call it, pre-paving, since 2008. I wrote it on a card and I put it at my bedside table and I read it every morning as I woke up. And I can tell you that even that little thing is life changing because it did change my life. Hang on, I'm just looking for where the full prayer is given in the book, and I'll tell you what page it is on because I think I have it highlighted. All right, I can't find it just now, so I will just give it to you anyway. And it is, today, no matter where I'm going, no matter what I'm doing, no matter who I'm doing it with, it is my dominant intent to look for things that feel good. When I feel good, I'm vibrating with my higher power. When I feel good, I'm in harmony with that which I consider to be good. When I feel good, I'm in the mode of attracting that which will please me once it gets here. And when I feel good, I feel good. Beautiful words, aren't they? Don't they feel, when you say those words, doesn't it make you feel light and happy? Doesn't it make you feel a positive vibration run through your body? Doesn't it make you feel anticipation for good things? That's what pre-paving your day is all about. And pre-paving is probably one of the most powerful tools that I've learned how to use from Abraham, and I have incorporated in my 40-day law of attraction workbook to accelerate manifestation, which is this one here. And pre-paving going to bed, pre-paving important things that you're going to do during the day, pre-paving is such an important thing. So I'm going to give you my pre-paving. Dear God, thank you for a brand new opportunity to enjoy life. I want my day to unfold with ease. I want good things to come my way. I want to remember to appreciate people, places, and things. I want to be good to myself and others. I want to end this day feeling happy and satisfied. And I want to remember at all times that all things are possible. That attitude, the attitude that is exemplified in that prayer or affirmation or whatever you want to call it, that attitude towards your day sets you up for a positive vibration right in the morning when you first wake up. And if you set up a positive vibration, it affects your abundance. And that is the important thing I want you to understand. It's not just a general thing you are saying. The words that you're saying, even though they feel general, but the point is, if you are sending out a positive vibration into the universe, all the subjects of your life must conform to that vibration. And that is why it is so important to generate a positive vibration. Okay, let's move on. I am on page 46 and the heading here is Decisions to Feel Good Attract Good Feelings. You see, our mind is such a powerful tool. When we decide that we want to feel good and then our attention goes to something that does not feel good, our mind reminds us. It's a trigger. It says, oh, you decided that you wanted to feel good, but here you are not feeling so good. What do you want to do? Do you want to come back to your decision or not? And at that moment, that is the most important moment, because in that moment, we can decide how we are going to react. What action are we going to take? What thought are we going to think? For example, you look at something and you really want it, and then the thought comes, but I can't afford it. What are you going to do next? What's the next thought that you're going to think? Well, you decided that you want to feel good. And that thought that you can't afford something that you really love is not a good feeling thought. So what are you going to do? You're going to tell yourself, it's okay. Good times are on their way. I am doing the work that I need to do. Now I know that I must shift my attention away from this thing and leave it up to the universe to bring me this thing or something better. And in the meantime, I'm going to shift my attention to something else. What can I look at that feels good? And then firmly turn your attention away from that thing. Make sense? All right. And then Abraham on page 46 gives us an example that has to do with relationships. And they explain something really important, which I'm going to give to you just now. You cannot feel good and bad at the same time. You know how that saying goes, oh, I have mixed feelings about this? You cannot feel both good and bad at the same time. So if you could turn your attention to things that feel good and take it away from those things that don't feel good, then you would start sending out a positive vibration into the universe, which would then bring you all the manifestations that would be pleasing to you. And that's what this is all about. So Abraham gives us this example and then teaches us how to pre-pave. And the example is of meeting someone that you don't enjoy meeting. So I'm going to leave it to you to read the book for the example because it is a good example. Yeah. So you cannot feel good and bad at the same time. You cannot focus upon wanted and unwanted at the same time. If you have trained your thoughts to what you consider to be good or wanted before you arrive at a party, the law of attraction will deliver to you things that feel good and are wanted. It really is as simple as that. And everything works the same way. So let's say that money is our subject here in this book study just now. Let's say that you want more money to come to you, maybe through the work that you do. What are the kinds of things that you should be saying to yourself? Well, you can pre-pave looking for a job, or you can pre-pave going to work at your existing job. Both are good pre-pavings because it can sound something like this. Thank you for this job that puts food on my table. I really, really, really enjoy the paycheck that lands in my bank account automatically on a regular basis. And I know that the universe is powerful, and I know that opportunities can come to me from anywhere. And so, universe, if there are opportunities for me at this place of work, please guide me towards them. And if there are opportunities outside of this place of work, I am open to exploring them. Please guide me towards where I need to go, who I need to talk to, and what I need to do. Those words, that pre-paving is really important. And you don't even have to go that far. That was a really long pre-paving. What I do is that before I get off my car to go in to work, I just appreciate the well-being and the money that comes to me through doing the work that I do. And if you just appreciate where you are just now, everything else the universe can look after for you. It's as simple as that. It is as easy as that. We think that it should be harder because we think that it should take more work, but it doesn't take more work. It really is as simple as that. Okay. Now the next subject is how can I not feel their pain? And again, you think that this is not related to money, but it is. Because it's about pushing back. If we look at the plight of people who don't have enough money, who are who have less than we have. Maybe they are people who are homeless, maybe they are living on the street, maybe they don't have food to eat, maybe they live in other countries. It doesn't matter, but it makes us feel bad to look at them. We are at that point in time sending a vibration of lack into the universe, because we are feeling bad for those people who have lack in their life. So, what should we do when that happens? Well, what we need to do is to do a quick 30-second either visualization or prayer for those people, to say, I trust and I believe that there is a universe, there is source is looking after these people as well, just in the same way that source is looking after me and all the animals and all the living things in the world. And what I wish most for these people is for them to find that vibration of trust, because when they find it, they will be able to manifest their own well being. My feeling bad for them is actually going to make things worse. So I'm going to take my attention off this situation, because when you pay attention to someone else's poverty or their situation, you 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 activate that vibration inside your being. And because your vibration is what manifests around you in your life, in your world, why would you knowingly instigate that vibration of lack? It doesn't make sense, does it? We don't ever want to knowingly pull the switch to start sending out a vibration of lack. Okay. So we can wish people well without having to feel their pain. And that is the most important thing to understand, because sometimes we live with those people. We live with people. You might have a spouse or a parent or a brother or sister or maybe even a child who is going through a bad patch. Your feeling bad for them not only makes their life worse, because now you have added more negative energy to the vibration that they are already sending out into the universe, which is negative, but you have also activated that same vibration inside you. And if you do that, then what you attract as a result is going to be stuff that reflects that vibration to you, which means that it is going to be less than what you wanted. It is going to be less than what you desire. We are on page 50 now. My sympathy is of no value to anyone. That's the heading, and it's with a question mark at the end. So I'll read this paragraph to you because it is meaningful. In simple terms, you are never of value to another, and you never offer a solution when you are feeling negative emotion. Because the presence of negative emotion within you means you are focused upon the lack of what is wanted rather than what is wanted. And then here in this on page 50 is the nighttime pre-paving, which if you say these words every night when you go to bed, it kind of switches your thought process off. So I'll read these to you because again, this is a set of words that I've used for a very long time. Tonight, as I sleep, all attraction will stop, which means tomorrow I will have a new beginning. And tomorrow I will look for what I am wanting to see because I want to feel good. Because feeling good is the most important thing. So it's important to pre-pave when you sleep, especially if you have anxiety on the subject of money. I know that people who are suffering from anxiety, not just on the subject of money, but any other subject as well, that can keep them up and at night. And I used to be one of those people, so I know this. And I can tell you that months of doing this affirmation completely changed things around for me. I sleep really, really well, really deep, and really, really enjoy my bedtime and sleep straight through, regardless of whatever else is going on. So, pre-paving is, like I said before, pre-paving is like having a vibrational plan. Just like we plan other things, it is also important to have a vibrational plan. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to read the last paragraph of this section because I think it is meaningful. To sympathize with others means to focus upon their situation until you feel as they feel. And since everyone has the potential of feeling wonderful or feeling awful, of succeeding at their desires or of failing at their desires, you have options about which aspects of them you sympathize with. We encourage you to sympathize with the best feeling aspects of others that you can find, and in doing so, you may influence them to an improved condition as well. And that is the most important thing. If you demonstrate a high vibration to people around you, they start learning from you and it feels good. So you help motivate them or inspire them to go up the emotional scale. So we're on page 51, and right at the bottom of the page is the heading, to not hurt when they feel hurt. And again, it's talking about the same thing, about looking at someone else's plight and feeling sorry for them. So Abraham says, a man once asked, how do you end a relationship without being hurt by the other person being hurt? If you decide that it's time to move on and the other person is not ready to move on, so he or she is very distraught, how can you keep your balance in a situation like that? And Abraham replied, when you attempt to guide your behavior by paying attention to how someone else feels about your behavior, you are powerless because you cannot control his or her perspective, and therefore you cannot achieve any consistent improvement in your own vibration or point of attraction or how you feel. So important to understand this, right? Because we have to make sure that we don't allow someone else's negative vibration to affect us, that we don't allow someone else's perspective to shift our perspective towards the negative. And even in money matters, I find that parents will say things like, oh, you think it's hanging on trees, right? Or I see spouses as well saying, oh, you just waste money. You don't think about how you spend. You're a spender. Now, when you say those words to someone, you're a spender or you don't know how to manage money, two things are happening. One, you've created that belief about that person inside you. So you have decided that that is who they are. And therefore, therefore they can't change because you've made a decision. And first of all, they can't change in your presence. And now you've communicated a belief to them, which then they start thinking about, oh, maybe that's right. Maybe I really am that way. And that is not conducive to improving their self-worth or helping them feel confident about who they are and how they're going about things, right? So it is always better to reserve your judgment. Doesn't matter if it is about someone who lives with you or about a complete stranger. Reserve your judgment. Let them have the benefit of the doubt. Seriously, let them have the benefit of the doubt, because when you do that, you're allowing them to change. And you're not planting beliefs that are going to develop roots. Because remember, anything that starts having roots in your psyche, in your subconscious mind, is very difficult to get rid of. That's why people remember how you used to behave when you were little. and they never let you forget it. They always remind you, oh, you used to spread rice all over the floor, or you used to throw things around. You never had a tidy room. Now look at your apartment, right? People say things like that. And so they never forget who you were, and they bring that into the future with them. Okay. So Abraham goes on to talk about that whole scenario about the relationship, and I'm not going to get into the details of that except to say that you cannot really do anything to change someone else's perspective, and you should not make anyone else dependent on the way you behave, because then they will forever be dependent on you for their happiness. They will always look for their happiness in you. It's like, I've seen this in restaurants or when I'm observing people at airports or in public places, that children who are really well trained at times will look up at the parent to see the look on that parent's face before they run, before they laugh, before they do anything. Now, that child has been conditioned that they have to behave in a manner that pleases the parent. So, forever, that child is going to want the parent's pleasure and put their own thoughts or desires, make them secondary. In the end, that leads to dissatisfaction inside the child. It might please the parent for a temporary period of time, but in the end, the dissatisfaction that the child will most certainly feel, because they'll feel as if they're making a sacrifice. And sacrifice is not a positive vibration. When somebody feels that they're sacrificing for you to make you happy, they always throw it back in your face. Have you noticed? It always comes to haunt you, because they're just suppressing their own feelings, and nobody can suppress their own feelings forever. It's just not human nature to do so. So why should we expect that from someone else? In fact, we should be so emotionally stable in our vibration that we should not need anyone to change their behavior in order to make us happy. And our attractive power for money also depends on our relationships. Because if you're unhappy in a relationship, or if you are conditional towards the people around you, that vibration, the vibration of sacrifice that you're sending out into the universe, cannot bring you abundance. You cannot be unhappy in your relationships and then attract abundance on a consistent basis. So you really have to manage your vibration if you're going to attract abundance, because one thing affects another thing. People who are happy and confident with their finances can use that as a pivoting place to be happy with their relationships as well. Hello, everybody. If you have questions at this point, you can post them in the chat, and I'll try and look after them before we end our session together. Okay? All right. So let's keep going. Abraham says on page 53, the only way you can be happy is to decide to be happy. When you take upon yourself the responsibility of another's happiness, you are attempting the impossible. And you are setting yourself up for a great deal of personal discord, which is what I was talking about. Okay. Lastly, Abraham says about relationships, there are many relationships that are not appropriate for you to continue, but we would never walk out of a relationship feeling angry, guilty, or defensive. Do the vibrational work, get to feeling good, and then leave. A lot of times people think that if they get to feeling good that they won't want to leave, but that's not true. If you've decided that it's not working, it's okay, but you have to stop pushing against and get to a place where you're okay. You're vibrationally not doing this, you're stable vibrationally. Okay. So, because Abraham says, and then what comes next will not be a replay of what you just left. Because I love Abraham's words, you take yourself with you wherever you go. The next heading on page 54, right at the bottom of the page, is I am not responsible for others' creations. And before I get into this, I'm going to tell you that the book by Abraham Hicks called The Vortex is all about relationships, and it is a fantastic book. And once we are done with Money and the Law of Attraction, this is the next book that we are going to read. All right, moving along. I am not responsible for others' creations. You must not accept the responsibility for what others are doing in their own life experience. See them as emerging from the lack and knowing that it is going to be better for them later. What is that? Those words, they sound very wordy, but basically what Abraham is saying is visualize. If somebody you know is in a place of financial difficulty, all you have to do is to visualize them as being abundant. Visualize them as being happy. And if that person who has lack in their life, maybe that person is you, yourself. And if it is you, then all you have to do is close your eyes and imagine yourself as being happy. Imagine yourself as having accomplished the abundance that you want. Keep it simple and short. Don't add too much detail. Don't start visualizing big houses and cars and things like that, because the more general you keep it, then you don't have to consider where you are on the emotional scale. It is easy to be general, but if you're being specific about a situation, you need to be up here in the top level of the emotional scale. One of the things that goes wrong with a lot of people who are trying to use law of attraction is that they think that they are here at the top of the emotional scale, and so they get specific, whereas they are not really at the top of the emotional scale, and it would be better for them to stay general. The thing about staying general about what you want to create and focusing only on the emotion on your face and how you're feeling inside, the thing about that is that it is easy to do, and you can do it from wherever you are on the emotional scale. You don't need to ask yourself, oh, am I in a place of anger? If I'm angry, maybe I shouldn't be visualizing. And that is absolutely true. If you're angry, you shouldn't be visualizing. But even at a place of anger, if you close your eyes for 30 seconds and you just see a future where you're not angry, where you're smiling and happy, that's sufficient. And if you want more help on the process of visualization, there is a video, an extensive video with a lot of material in it on my channel. So just do a search within my channel videos and it will pop up for you. Hi Emily, good to see you here. Thank you for being here. And Lucianne and Tracy and Ketone Burner. I always have a chuckle when people are so creative with their screen names, aren't they? Okay, so much creativity in the world. Okay, moving along, page 55. Listen for guidance or reach for good feelings? What should we do? Reach for good feelings or listen for guidance? Let's read the first paragraph. You have the ability to pivot under any and all conditions. It does not matter how negative something seems, you have the ability to give your attention to the positive aspects of it. The only things that get in your way are some old habits or maybe some strong influences from others. So, you can always pivot to the positive. And here is where Abraham introduces the what if game. And I love using these words. What if? Wouldn't it be nice if? My favorite Abraham words. Wouldn't it be nice if? Because when you say the words, wouldn't it be nice if, there's no attachment in them. They're light-hearted. What they're really saying is, hi Gigi. What they're really saying is, if this happens, it would be really nice, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay. And that is a really important attitude to take towards law of attraction and manifesting. So, Abraham goes into a lot of depth here. And they say when you are involved in extreme situations, a power comes forth from within. And so the intensity of your desire will put you upon a plateau where, if you can just get focused, you can have your greater elevation. So basically, again, Abraham sometimes tends to use language that is a little bit wordy. And what what they are really saying is that the worse things get in our lives, the bigger our desire becomes for turning them around. The bigger your desire gets for turning them around, the more committed you become to doing the work that needs to be done. The more you will not wander off. I was explaining this last night to someone in my meditation class. She was talking about how it was hard for her to meditate, and I was explaining to her, she wanted to know how I had done it, and I was explaining to her that it was really, 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 really important for me to not become my mother, because I had become my mother. And when I saw what that did to her in terms of her health, really suffered. She was bedridden for a couple of years before she made her transition, and it was all because she spent a lot of her life here at the bottom of the emotional scale in depression, anger, worry, all sorts of tension, anxiousness, panic attacks. And I promised myself that I did not want to be like her. So I committed myself to doing the work. And my desire was so big. That's what I was explaining, is that my desire to achieve that was so big that nothing could stand in my way. And that the bigness of the desire and the pulling power of that desire helped me to make the commitment that I made to doing the work, which then brought me the results that I got that completely turned my life around, and here I am. So when something goes really, really wrong, it's not always a disadvantage, because your desire then becomes so big that you don't allow anyone to stand in your way. You don't allow anyone else's opinion to influence you. You don't allow anything to get in your way. You just become hungry, and often to other people, from their perspective, a crazy person who is not listening, who is doing things in their own way. And that energy that drives you can take you towards the positive side of things really, really quickly. And that is what Abraham means when they say that when something negative happens, it can energize you to an extent that nothing will ever get in your way. So, the what if game is a really good game to play. And I've played it. Um, when I was going through a really bad financial situation, I played the what if game, and I can tell you that it really helped me find stability. So, the what if game that I played, because I was afraid. So, where was I? When fear, so I was afraid of going bankrupt. Okay, things were really, really bad. My accounts were garnished by the government, and I was afraid that the next step would be that I would be forced to sell my house. So I was here in a place of fear, and that's when I was reading this book, this really powerful book. So I read about the what if game, and I played this game, and I asked myself the question, what if I go bankrupt? You know what the answer was? The answer was, so who cares? You came to Canada without anything. How many years ago? At that point in time, it would have been 10 years. You came to Canada without anything, and you built all of this. You knew no one here. And now you know so many people and you know how things work here. So, what if you go bankrupt? You can just start again. And this time, you will not make any of those mistakes you made before, and you'll do a much better job much faster. Guess what happened when I had that thought? I was like, yeah, why am I even afraid? Why am I afraid of going bankrupt? There's no need for me to be afraid. And you know what? I came across the Atlantic, across continents to be in Canada. What's stopping me from just picking up my stuff and moving to another city if I feel embarrassed facing my friends here? But they're new friends. I haven't known them forever. I didn't grow up with them, and it's so easy for me just to pick up my bags and go to a completely different city where nobody knows me. I can go to the other end of Canada. It's a huge country. And start all over again. And you know what? With what I know, oh my God, sky is the limit. But what happened as a result of playing the what if game was that the fear vanished. And I never had to move. I never had to start all over again. And I completely avoided bankruptcy. Because soon as the fear went away, I went up the emotional scale. I went up so high up that I came to a place of hope, and confidence in myself that if I can create this once, I can most certainly create it again. And the second time round, I'm going to do a much better job. And I did. And that's what it is all about. Sometimes when you go really, really far down, then you don't let anything get in the way. And the what if game is a wonderful game to play because you can play out all the scenarios. What if this happens? Then how will I feel? What if this happens? Then how will I feel? Right? So, and I remember when I had not read anything about Abraham. I was very young. I was in an abusive relationship and I was pregnant. And I remember playing this what if game at that point in time. And I think it was just my inner being guiding me because I woke up one morning and I looked into the mirror and I said to myself, what if I stay in this marriage? What if and the answer was, if I stay in this marriage, then I'm going to end up not with just one child, but maybe 2 or 3 more. And I'm going to end up being battered and unhappy for the rest of my life. And when I thought about, oh my God, I'm going to be battered and unhappy for the rest of my life, I couldn't take it anymore. It gave me the energy, the power to say, I'm not doing this anymore. Because until that point, I was saying, oh no, I have to, because what will people say? What will my parents say? What will all these other people say? And I was ignoring my own joy. But the what if game is what showed me that having a joyless life was not what I wanted. Okay. All right, any questions at this time? Hang on one second. I would love for you guys all, including mm, doing this video to Facebook me so we can all. Oh, well, of course you can make friends. There are so many ways to make friends. Who with people who are into law of attraction. If you want to meet people who are similar minded and on the same journey, there's so many Facebook groups that you can join. Abraham Hicks oriented groups, law of attraction oriented groups. I run a group called Unlimited Life, and you're all most welcome to join. Okay. And if you want actually to do law of attraction work, then I invite you to join my mastermind group, which is the Unlimited Law of Attraction Coaching and Support group. You have to send me a receipt for purchase of the workbook in order to join that mastermind. But yes, there's a lot that happens in that mastermind group and has been happening for many years now. And a lot of people have become really, really good friends because it's a very open and participative environment. Okay, moving along. So Abraham says, there is never a situation in which there is not a way out. Remember that. It does not matter how bad your money situation is. It does not matter how bad things are, because you can turn it around in no time at all. And I can tell you that that's what I did. I played this game, woke up the next morning with an idea that changed everything for me. So I know for a fact it does not take any time at all. So Abraham says, in fact, there are hundreds and thousands of practical choices along the way, but out of habit, most people continue to choose the lack perspective in situations until they eventually find themselves in an unwanted place where it seems that there are no more choices. But that's not true. There are always choices, but there are choices that you can see, and then there are choices that you cannot see because you have a very limited perspective. You do not have the perspective of source. As I like to describe it, source is in the sky, like your friend in the sky, and from that perspective, source can look down on you and see all the paths that you could possibly take. But here you are on the ground in front of a great big jungle, and you don't know which way to go because all you see is the trees, and you can't see the paths that are winding through the trees to the other end. So that's where trust comes in. It's all about trust. There is always a way. If you trust, then source will guide you through that forest. Okay, we're getting to the end of our time. So we only have 2 minutes left on this call. I'm just going to read the last paragraph here. So Abraham is talking about processes. These processes are simple to understand and to apply, but do not let their simplicity cause you to underestimate their power. Consistently apply them and show yourself the leverage of the power of aligned thought. Discover the power of the energy that creates worlds, the power that you have always had already access to, but which you now understand how to apply, and focus it towards your own personal creations. So now that was part one of the book. We are now going into part two of the book, which is entitled Attracting Money and Manifesting Abundance. So the first part was more general law of attraction, giving us a good foundation. And then the second part is about money, and the third part is about health. Money and health are extremely closely interlaced with each other. All right, so before I close the call, so I'm doing these calls lives every Wednesday, but I want to tell you that next Wednesday I have something else going on, and so there will be no call, no live event on Wednesday the 11th. My next live call will be on March 18th, which is also a Wednesday, again at 7 p.m. And whoever wants to is welcome to join. Thank you to all of you for coming tonight. I'm just going to check for questions. At this point in time, if there are any questions at all, please post them now. Well, you can also post them later, it doesn't matter. I always respond to questions, whether they're on my Facebook or my YouTube or through my blog. I always respond to questions. In fact, I love questions because I don't have questions of my own. So I love responding to questions that you all ask. Take care, folks. I don't see any questions coming through, so I am going to close the call for tonight. Love you all. Have a fabulous 2 weeks. I will post videos on my YouTube channel in the meantime, but I will not be live until, what was that date? It was the 18th of March. Okay? Take care, folks. Bye for now.